Good morning, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Coffee with the Critters, where we live stream every Sunday morning at 9:30 a.m. Eastern. For those that may be new, welcome. My name is Laura Joseph, owner of the Animal Behavior Center. We are an international educational online resource for teaching people about behavior through working with animals. We focus on helping animals and people learn with respect and trust using the science of behavior called applied behavior analysis. Our teaching and guidance services are both virtual and in person. We teach people how to empower and enrich animals' lives through modifying behavior, teaching new behaviors, and trust through understanding the science of behavior without the need for force or aversives. Because when we know better, we do better. And you can find all of that information on our website at theanimalbehaviorcenter.com. And you can always email me directly, and that is Laura, Lara, at theanimalbehaviorcenter.com. Okay, so now that we have that out of the way, I want to go ahead and get started with today's topic, which is recognizing under-enrichment in animals through behavioral observations. So I get asked a lot, or a lot of times when I give presentations, when I finish the presentation, people will say, wow, I didn't realize that I'm seeing some of these behaviors with the animals in my care, and I really need to bump it up. So, a lot of times, good morning, everybody. Stephanie, April, Shirley, Rachel, Brody. A lot of times, people don't even know or understand the behavioral signals that the animals are showing us. So I sat down last night and really tried to narrow this down to the top 10 that I look for. And that was very hard because I had about 25. And in order to condense this information into a Coffee with the Critters episode, I really focused it down to 10. If you want to talk about this more in the future, I am happy to. I'm happy to go through and dissect each and every single one. So I work with numerous different species of animals. So, how do I understand or recognize under enrichment in animals with numerous different species? First of all, let's identify what enrichment even means, because when I first started getting into this field, I was so focused on enrichment, and I entered the field of animal training through enrichment because I really wanted to improve the quality of the care of the animals' lives that I was seeing, interacting with, or cared for on my own. So I identify enrichment as an arousal of the senses, all of the senses. It's a way for animals to explore their environment, learn from their environment, and receive mental and physical stimulation. So you always hear me say, my main competitor is Mother Nature. I will never beat her. I will never match her. But as long as I set my goals high, I will never stop striving to achieve this. Those of you that are aware of the work that I do, um, I really focus on the quality of life of the animal. And I entered this field through enrichment, which has led me to training, because studies show if you're actually using positive reinforcement training, it is the animal's preferred form of enrichment. So let me this is a list that I created over the past years of working with animals. The signs and signals that an animal is under-enriched. Good morning, everybody. Um, there are several. Let's just go ahead and start. The first one I recognize, and all of these are not just under enrichment. It could be there is a behavior issue, but these are those little red flags that I look for. One is resource guarding. When an animal protects a certain area or object, and that include people, it can include another animal, it can include a toy. Um, when I see resource guarding in an animal, that's a little red flag to look into this further. That could be a natural behavior. It could also mean, and I know two specific animals right away. Boom, boom. This is a sign of an under-enriched history. When an animal protects something in almost excessive amounts. Even if it gets a certain object, it will protect it and it will attack you if you try to retrieve that object. That can be a sign of under enrichment because the animal doesn't have enough enrichment in its enclosure that when it finally finds one, it's going to protect it because this is getting a little anthropomorphic because it doesn't know when it's going to get another piece of enrichment. And Sylvia says resource guarding is typically a symptom. Thanks for the input, Sylvia. Um, so that's one, okay? And I know another one, this is very common, and that is neophobia, a fear of objects, a fear of anything new, a fear of a change in the environment, um, anxiety or fear of anything new. You try to put in a new object, and the animal runs, flies, swims away as fast as it can. When to us, it may be something as simple as a small ball, to an animal that has an unenriched environment or a history of an unenriched environment, this is not uncommon at all. When I see an animal showing extreme fear to any change or new object in the environment, it's not a little red flag, it is a huge red flag. This animal is very underenriched. Um, Eating of inedible objects, there are numerous different things that this can be relative to, but it can be a sign of under-enrichment. Eating things such as stones, sticks, um, anything that isn't its normal diet. So another one, this is very common. This is like a clear sign to me of under-enrichment, and that is stereotypical behaviors, what I call abnormal repetitive behaviors, such as pacing, weaving, cage bar scaling, biting, circling, excessive vocalizations, um, excessive grooming. I'm going to talk about excessive grooming next, but abnormal repetitive behaviors are a clear indication of numerous things: stress, um, the inability to escape a stressed environment, stressed object, feared object, but is definitely a huge red flag of under enrichment. Window licking, um, chewing on I'm going through my head on different animals, chewing on their enclosure, destroying their enclosure. That's one I left out was oh, no, it isn't. I put it in here. Um, so abnormal repetitive behaviors, and a lot of times you can tell the history of reinforcement of that abnormal repetitive behavior by seeing how well practiced this abnormal repetitive behavior is. A couple examples come to mind. I was watching a group of animals, and one was uh, jumping across the floor of its enclosure. It would jump, 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 touch a cage bar, jump, 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 touch a cage bar, jump, jump, jump. Things like touching that particular cage bar, and at a certain moment after 3 jumps, it has to touch a cage bar. that will tell me there is longer history or reinforcement of this abnormal repetitive behavior. And what will tell me its intensity is if it misses touching that cage bar. If it goes jump, 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 reaches the touch the cage bar, anticipates in touching that cage bar, but it misses and starts to jump, it'll interrupt its abnormal repetitive behavior to go back and touch that cage bar to continue finishing that abnormal repetitive behavior. Same thing in another animal that's coming into mind is it swings like this. It swings its upper body and its head, and in the process, it'll go boom, 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 and touch these cage bars at the top of its cage. And it'll do a certain vocalization at the end, and it'll swing its body, boom, 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 and it does that over and over. Um, these these signs of under-enrichment bring me a lot of stress watching this animal. So I do wanna give time to give you examples of how I change this because 'cause I'm not even halfway through my list. Self-injurious behaviors such as, a little red flag, that I pay attention to is over grooming. That's a little red flag I need to pay attention to before it turns into a big red flag. Excessive licking, excessive grooming. Um, it can also some animals like feather plucking. Um, th- there's a lot of self-injurious behaviors with several different animals, such as nail chewing, self-mutilation, um, poking itself in the eye. Um, another sign of under-enriched is reduced activity levels or lethargy. There is a large study that I read several years ago by Minch and Meehan at UC Davis, and it goes through a lot of these. But one of the things that they mentioned, and in me as well, um, is one of the things that really I don't want to say what do I want to say sad, um, but really piques my attention and says there's we need to change this immediately is when the animal does nothing at all. Um, Complete withdrawal from its environment, just sits there. Another sign is vigilance, hyper alertness. That is a sign. That also kind of ties into overactivity or restlessness, lack of exploratory behavior or curiosity. A lot of times you'll hear me say, do not punish curiosity. When I see an animal that's curious about a situation, which we ended our day yesterday with two particular animals showing extreme curiosity and something we didn't want to them to get into, but I was like, this is cool. It's curiosity. Um, so take that curiosity and turn it into enrichment. Do not punish it by showing it something that moving that object closer to it. Um, I would take that object and shape interaction. Um, Deliver reinforcers for small approximations. Um, and before I get on to different things I would do, destructive behaviors. I know a lot of people are laughing like, oh, I got those. So do I. Um, Destructive behaviors of things you don't want them to destroy. Like a lot of times people will say, when I build this enclosure or this aviary, the animal just chews on the cage bars. Big red flag. That is a sign of under enrichment. Show the animal that the enrichment is within this environment, not the enclosure itself. So that's a big red flag. Upset. Here's another one I see a lot. A sign of under enrichment in animals is their obsession or interaction with one object only. One particular object, area, or toy, enrichment, whatever. If I see an animal only engaging with one object, that's a little red flag. If I see it several hours later and it's only engaging in that one object, and it depends, is it destroying this specified enrichment? If so, that's a flag to me to say, okay, what is it interacting with? What can we provide more in this form of enrichment over here? So the animal starts interacting over here. Um, but when there is a particular object, such as a bell or a ball or a stick or a chain, that is the only thing the animal interacts with for days, that is a huge red flag. Um, okay. So I want to say, how do we start changing this? And you guys tell me, what do you want to hear more from me? I can dissect each one of these individually, but when I see any of these, some of these approaches, the longer the animal has lived without enrichment, usually the smaller steps it's going to take you to change that behavior. And I am, a lot of times people will say you have to be so patient with this. I am not a patient person. When it comes to changing behavior, modifying behavior, increasing curiosity, increasing the animal's engagement with its environment, what I'm doing is I'm breaking things down so minuscule that when I see, oh, it's moved from here to here, that's progress. And what is progress? Whatever benefits the animal's quality of life. And to use Dr. Jason Crean's saying, I want to see animals thrive, not just survive. Um, that is my reinforcer to continue doing what I do. I want to see these animals loving life. And I want to see that bar with me and Mother Nature getting a little more up here each time. That is my goal. So let me hear back from you. If you want to hear more about the services that we offer, you can find them on our website, theanimalbehaviorcenter.com. There you will find all of our online memberships. You will find our live drop in classes. You just want one topic that you want to learn more about? Boom, sign up for a drop in class because we're getting ready to have a drop in class on crate training. This is the amazing Jenks, the Timberwolf, in a crate trained. We are live streaming and discussing an assortment of different animals that we're crate training, a variety, I should say, in our advanced applied animal behavior and training membership. And this is me creating duration. Both doors are closed. And this is like I'm helping a particular person who requested this in our advanced level. Here, both doors are open. Now I got a new problem with Jenks. He like he won't come out of the crate now. That's how we ended our training session the other day. That's a great problem to have, but we were gonna be working on that this afternoon. You've seen my work with crate training Elvis and Priscilla, the alligators. We're getting ready to start with Bruce, and mentioning that, I need to get out there because 'cause we're gonna be working on this, and I wanted to announce we do have the date for our next workshop, which is gonna be focusing on birds. Avian Wellness Workshop. We will focus on behavior, training, and nutrition, and it will be hosted by myself and Dr. Jason Crean um, at the Animal Behavior Center on September 13th and 14th. If you want to be notified of when registration is open for the public, email me immediately at Lara, Lara, at theanimalbehaviorcenter.com, and I will notify you when public registration is open. We do offer this to our members first, and all the other services that we offer you can find on our website. Just an update on Rocky, his the beer release party is Saturday, August 16th from 6 to 9 p.m. at Mommy Bay Brewing Company. I just told you guys I would keep you up to date every notification I get because I want to thank you for your votes and your shares to help spread his story. So thank you. And as far as next week's Coffee with the Critters, keep an eye out because I was thinking about having a cocktails with the critters, which is usually Saturday night, but I do have a special guest coming in later this upcoming week, and maybe we do some kind of live stream there. So keep your eye out. Thank you, everybody, for your support and for viewing. We will see you next week.